So I grew up in Flagstaff, right? 15 years living in Flagstaff.
Right.
And when I first moved to Tucson, everyone told me, "Oh, you ready to be a Tucsonian?" I'm like, "I'm going to be here 4 years tops."
Right.
After the fourth year. All right, 5 years, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I've been here for 8 years.
Yeah, I was supposed to be here for a very limited amount of time.
Right.
Like, I literally only wanted to be here for like 3 months, and that was 15 years ago almost. So
How does that happen?
well, and it actually works pretty well as an introduction.
Yeah, it does. It really does. So, all right. So Tucson in particular is kind of like that a little bit, don't you think?
Well,
You come here, you stay here.
yeah. Well, see, I wasn't even trying to move to Tucson. I was living in Chicago, and I even had like a professorship set up, and that was gonna be like what I was gonna do after I finished grad school. And a good friend of mine, Patrick Welsh, he had a position set up for me at the university where he taught, and I'd already gone there and I'd covered classes for him, and I was all lined up to do this. And so I graduate from graduate school at the School of Art Institute of Chicago with a painting degree. But at the same time, well, I owned an art gallery in Chicago as well. It was called 50/50 Gallery. And I had that gallery, and I had this professorship thing. And I was actually working at the museum at the time, hanging art, and I had all this stuff going on. And then this kind of like weird thing popped up where there was a TV show that was going on.
Okay.
And the school was they were going to do like a reality TV show. And the guy that was producing it, Chris Brandio, he was one of my grad advisors. And
Can you say the name of the show?
yeah,
It's
awful. But well, I mean, they ended up like scrapping it after we shot it for like 2 years, which is funny because the amount of commitment we put into this thing was insane.
Right.
But yeah, so basically I ended up walking away from all of this stuff to work on this TV show in New York City.
Okay.
And so my now ex-wife, now we're getting in like real personal stuff. She refused to move to Manhattan. She wouldn't do it. And I wanted to move to Utah because I actually kind of wanted to get a professorship at a school out there. And I'd spoken to people and it seemed like that was highly possible.
Okay.
So in my head, I was like, okay, what I'll do is move to Manhattan for a while, do this show, figure out where I want to go for my professorship, and then go do that.
Sure.
And then 2007 started to roll in. Oh, sorry, I didn't even explain how I ended up in Tucson. So my ex-wife was like, oh, my family owns a house in Tucson. Why don't we, because we just had a baby together as well. She's like, why don't we go to Tucson and you can fly to New York for work? Because she refused to live in Manhattan because, you know, what I could afford at the time would have been a small place. And
Sure.
She just wouldn't do it. And she wouldn't do it in Utah. She was dead set on coming to Tucson.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Tucson is just, it's crazy how easy it is to live here.
well, kind of. But it's like a rat trap. Like,
Right. But
there's like a piece of cheese and, you know, you walk in there and then the gate falls behind you and you go, what?
No, but like that reason alone, like it's cheap to live here. Gas prices are the lowest in the country in Tucson, half the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Like it is cheap as hell to live here. And once you get comfortable with paying for a certain amount for amenities and where you're living and everything, like you just get kind of stuck.
Well, that's what happens. Well, you know, it's not a trap where the gate closes. It's more like the walls are like higher than you can reach because now you've completely rebuilt your life to live with less money, to live with less, to do less. And all of a sudden the wall to get out is super high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, so even though I was still working, I was making money. Like I'd feel guilty not working when I was in Tucson. So I started driving like a taxi, just kind of, just to make extra cash.
Sure.
And I could see the economy was starting to get weird too. Like that was very obvious in 2007.
Yeah.
And so I'm like driving a taxi one night and I tell somebody, yeah, you know, I'm just here temporarily. And the person in the car just started laughing at me. And they're like, Tucson, they told me like, you can't just come to Tucson and think you can leave. And I was like, why? And they're like, no, Tucson will get you stuck. And I remember thinking when I was like driving this taxi cab, like, oh dude, maybe I'm actually already stuck and I don't know it. And I was. You know, it was like a total trap. And like the walls just went in super high and I was super deep.